Arise, thou mighty man of valor, and brave the fight. Victory is in thy favor, go in this thy might. Midianites are running, it's spiritual Armageddon. Shout the sword of the Lord and Gideon. For the spirit of Gideon is on me. Dig deeper in those mysteries, let those 7 locks grow long. Oh, anointing of Samson, let faith muscles become strong. Lord, lead me to those pillars, let me cast those devils down. Let me hear those 7 thunders sound. For the spirit of Samson is on me. Arise, you moping eagles, cease your hopping on the ground. Can you hear your brother screaming? There is virtue in that sound. Arise and eat, be strengthened. For the journey you must be strong. You were born to set your eyes upon the sun. For the spirit of the eagle is on me. Yes, the spirit of the Lord is anointing me. Speak now, my fair lady, touch the scepter in my hand. Make known your desire, it's my pleasure to command. Lord, my people, they are dying, they must have your liberty. Let me go and set the captives free. For the spirit of Esther is on me.
Yes, the spirit of Esther, the spirit of Samson, the spirit of the eagle, the spirit of Gideon, because it's all one spirit, and that's the spirit of Christ. I'm going to bring up Facebook here and make sure I'm on there okay. It's good to be here this morning to some of you. I kind of I switch it back and forth a little bit because of the different people around the world. Now, you can go to the website almost any time you want. You'll find the messages there. You'll find the fellowships we have there. Or you can go into Facebook and you'll find it there on our on my wall and in our 3 groups. And you can go to Boxcast and you will find them there. So it's not like you can't find it if you're not there sitting in the live service or in the live fellowship, but I do understand why you want to be. And so that's why I switch it back and forth a little bit and let people, because half of the earth is asleep if I do it one way, and the other half of the earth is asleep if I do it the other way. So I just go back and forth. But I am going to talk with Brother Alirio and see what we can do with either the website or the Boxcast to stream it to where you can go on anytime you want and pull up, the last few messages and be able to stream them and watch them. So it's good to be back, and we've been talking a lot on the functional consciousness. And it's good to see those that are here tonight. And Brother Allen has his summer stint going now with he's the manager of a drive-in. And so he has to be there on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. So he can't make it when I do an evening service unless I do it through the week, which I may start doing at some point, and that gives him a chance to come. But we've been talking on the functional consciousness and how that we've entered a time frame, an age, a dispensation where that we're becoming more and more aware all the time because of the many changes, everything from the heavenly, the stars that have made their changes, and the planets that have moved into new alignments, and of course the technology that's in the earth now to where we can all meet with one another. And so we have all these things going on. And in the last session, we enjoyed the understanding of our moment in time and how all things add up to the move and the flow of the Spirit in each age. Many people will write me and they'll say, Brother Parnell, the Bible doesn't teach that, or the prophet doesn't teach that, or there's many things they write. And I say, if I were in that age, I would teach what they were teaching because I wouldn't know anything else. But we've come further and we know more now. And for me to sit and teach those things when they are outdated, not because they're no good, everything that's ever been taught, we should keep it in our hearts, in our minds, and use it every place necessary. But we moved further, and each age has its own flow in the Spirit, its own movement to carry that generation further. So in the last session, we talked about our moment in time and how all things add up to the flow and the move of the Spirit in this age. And age is within its own time. So everybody coming all the way through had their moment in time. And each age has its own time and its own moment. And if every age had to speak the same thing in their time and in their moment, then there's no sense having more than one age. Just, if every man had to speak the same thing, then there's no sense having more than one man. So I could just keep going down the line on that. But the move of the Spirit takes the next age beyond the prior one. You remember sometime back, a year or so ago, we talked about what remains. Sometimes you may think it doesn't look more glorious, but what remains is more glorious than what faded away and what comes to an end. When something comes to an end and it fades away, we may look back and we may say, boy, I wish I could live in those good old days. I wish I could live when those revivals were so fresh in Pentecost. I wish I could. Well, I'm sure that, especially for those who come through those things, I'm sure that they would like to live in those things, but they have faded away. And what remains is always. Haggai asked that question to Israel when the first temple was torn down and they went through 70 years of Babylon and they came back and began to rebuild the temple. He asked the question, which is more glorious in your sight? The glory of the first temple or this temple in the present? And the answer was the temple in the present, because it made it through. That's what remained. That's what was there. And that's what's going on now. Many people want to go backwards, or they want to look forward. And they want to say, I wish I lived in that day, or I would rather came out in the future. And they miss the present I am and the moment of their own time. And right now, what's going on is more glorious than what went on 50 years ago, or 100 years ago, or 1,000 years ago. It's more glorious. Jesus said it himself, "You shall do the greater works." He said if a grain of corn doesn't fall into the ground and die, it abides alone. But if it does, then it brings forth much fruit. So Jesus himself was saying there's something greater coming than me. And that's hard for people to accept, but it's true. Today we'll take the functional consciousness of humanity, kind of further in our thinking. Kind of remember back, we went into Matthew 22, if you remember, and how that Jesus said in the resurrection, they'll neither be marriage nor given in marriage, but will be as the angels. The 7 brothers are all gone, and the wife is all gone. So there's no husband, there's no wife, there's none of those. It's all here. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the dominant thing. Do you see how in the world today, how the whole concept of marriage is becoming less dominant all the time? You say, but that's a terrible thing, Brother Parnell. Well, me personally, I think a person should marry. But marriage is becoming less dominant all the time. And the reason being because in the spiritual, the whole concept of marriage and husband and wife, that was great, and we seen her in her wedding gown on Sunset Mountain in all of her beauty, and then we came back to set up in the earth and set up a kingdom and set up a glorious time and move beyond the whole concept of husband and wife and marriage and wedding suppers and everything else. We've moved beyond that. So this consciousness of humanity moving further in its thinking, knowing that we have moved into an age now to where that we are those angelic beings, we entered this sea of sand and water. We were theophany, we were spirit, we were logic, we were in our thinking, and then we moved into this, what we created. It was in us, it was an attribute in us, and we were an attribute in it, and we moved into it, and now the whole concept is different than what we were doing in theophany form. And so we entered this sea of sand and water. You remember when the Spirit spoke to Abraham and said, "Look to the sands of the sea, and if you can count that, so shall thy seed be." And then in another place later, he tells him, "Look to the stars of heaven. If you can count those, so shall thy seed be." And what the Spirit was showing him was you're moving through processes of the earth and the heavens, and as you move through these processes, you're gaining and growing higher and higher in consciousness. Now, today I titled this little thought, "The Stellar Mind in Us." It's our mind, and I called it a stellar mind because that is an angelic or a star. You know, when you're speaking of stellar, you're speaking of a star. But it goes further than that. So we will take a look at these things. This is the place. We entered the sea of sand and water. We're living in it. We're feeling it. We're filtering it. And we moved here because we didn't have a body that we could in detail understand. We had we were theophany, we were logic, we were real, we were in the thoughts, and we were absolutely real. But we didn't understand our body. And so we created, took the elements which were eternal and brought them together into an earth, and then we moved ourselves, as I said last week, through the portal of woman into the earth, and we took on the nature of woman, we took on the nature of the earth, and we took on the nature of, science even has enough sense to know what kind of nature's here. They call it Mother Nature. They didn't call it Father Nature because we moved into the Mother Nature. We moved into the woman nature. So this is the place where we understand our body. We begin to take on detail of understanding our body, our earth, and its processes. The earth has a lot of processes. Those processes had names to them, all sorts of processes. And so, Lucifer, the serpent, the red dragon, the devil, the Leviathan, there was just Tyra, and you could just go on and on and on with all the processes and the names of the different things in humanity that moved us through these processes. But we're learning and studying and looking and observing about our body. That's what we're here for. This is our body, our earth. The entire earth is our body. We are the spirit being that is moving through the earth in all of its nature. And so this place it's a place of carnality. It's a place of elemental see, taste, feel, smell, and hear. And we have moved into its senses. We've moved into a place of carnality, of carnal. Carnal just meaning in the English language, flesh. And in the Spanish, carne, which is flesh. We moved into these things, flesh and blood, and that is what is practical now and makes the most sense for us. But what we have done for thousands of years is tried to take the carnality and make it into the Word, make it into a theophany, make it into a body that makes no sense for the earth. And we have finally come to a point where we realize, hey, we came into this carnality so that we could change ourselves from the old way into this way and blend into it and understand it. So the carnal attribute of the mind, this is what Paul said, the carnal attribute of the mind is enmity against the thinking that there is a God. It's enmity against God. It's enmity against thinking there's a God outside of us. You say, well, that would make you atheist, Brother Parnell. No, it just makes me where I have some common carnal sense to understand there's no God outside of me. The God is me. It's not outside of me. The God is you. And you and I and Christ, we are one. I and my Father, we are one. I and you and me, and we're in the... So it's all one being, one consciousness. And so we take a look at it, and we see that in our carnality, it is an enemy against trying to put a God out there. Man done it acting like he's going to turn himself into a theophany. Well, we already been there. We're not trying to go back there. We moved here to adjust and adapt and accept the attribute of earth in us. We already had opened up the attribute of logic. We'd opened up the attribute of word, the attribute of theophany, and now we're opening up the attribute of carnality and earth, and the carnal mind is always in conflict with the logic mind, because it's two different worlds. One is an unseen world. One is an actual manifested, seen, taste, feel, smell, hear, touchy, flesh, substance. And we're here in it. And so the carnal attribute that's in our mind, it's a part of our mind, it's an unseen attribute, is against the logic of our mind that says, I want to remain unseen. I want to be a theophany. I want to be something more than the earth. But we're here now. That's our present day. That's who we are. And we need to embrace this and take it and love it with all of our hearts and understand that this carnality is teaching us and sorting us into coming up with the best government, the best body that pleases us. It's obvious that the theophany body didn't please us, or we wouldn't be here. We weren't pleased with it. Oh, but it's sublime. It's this. I know all the stories. I know all that. But we weren't pleased with it. We wanted something else, or we would still be in it. So, we're here in this carnality, looking for, seeking, and longing for a better body and relationship, a body that pleases us, that we can enjoy and not feel so much logic, condemnation, intellect, word, and everything else in the middle of trying to enjoy our life. So the only way that the attribute of logic, theophany, can make sense in this world, if you're trying to live as a theophany, a spirit being in this world, if you're really trying to, the only way it will make a little bit of sense to you is to restrain it, refrain from it, separate from it, battle it with you in your mind of carnality, call it sin, call it condemnation, call it filth, call it everything under the sun, and separate yourself out from it. And then you can feel halfway good within yourself. You'll never be good enough because you're always going to have some carnality. I don't care who you are. So you're never going to feel good about yourself. You're always going to feel condemned. You're always going to feel guilty if you go that route. Therein is our issue. That's why we have so much bad feeling, condemnation, separation, exclusion, hatred, envy, strife, because you say, well, the theophany can't have hate in it, Brother Parnell. You just haven't read Romans the 9th chapter where it said God hated Esau. The theophany can have hate in it. It can have those were attributes in it. And you know what we did? We didn't like that. We didn't feel good about it. So we came here to find a better situation, a more pleasing body. Someone said, Brother Parnell, you have just destroyed the whole glory and the holiness of the theophany. Well, I'm sorry. I'm just telling you that you wouldn't be here if you had loved it so much, because you'd have stayed there. You had choices. Therein, we find ourselves refraining, restraining, separating, battling with our mind, carnality, back and forth. Therein is our issue. Now, we broke the veil. We moved from theophany civilization into the earth, carnal civilization. Now, when we first came here, we were in innocence, Garden of Eden. And then as we grew into maturity, of course, we came through other processes of carnality, everything from the law and right on down the line to Christ, and right on out into the church ages and on out into today. So we've been moving through these carnal expressions to try and transform and feel ourselves in a pleasing body. That's what we're doing. We broke the veil, the barrier of logic and knowledge. That's what we were. And it was a barrier. We didn't know how to move out of that. So we created a portal, and we took our logic and our knowledge and we transformed it and poured it out into the earth. And the same way God did, the scripture tells us that he poured himself into Christ. Brother Branham, read the unveiling of God. He says very clearly, he said, Jesus wasn't just a part of God, not like he was an arm or a leg. Brother Branham says, or maybe a breast or something. But he said he was all of God. All, he said, the Spirit immorphed or poured himself out fully into Jesus. Well, listen to me. You did the same thing. We have poured ourselves fully, immorphed ourselves, poured it into the earth. This is our body. The same way Jesus was the body of the Spirit, you today are the body of the Spirit. This earth is your body, and you are the Spirit moving it. Now, so we see this. Therein, we broke the veil, the barrier of logic and knowledge, and we entered a world of discovery. Things we knew nothing about. So we were in the mind, in the unseen realms. Everybody wants to go back there so bad. I personally don't. I want to keep moving forward and become greater and greater and greater and find the pleasing body and the understanding that we've been searching for billions and billions of years. I want to move into that. So here we see this. Now, we entered a world of discovery, fourth dimension. So we were spiritual, we were logic, and we were carnal. That's your three realms or your three attributes of the mind in an unseen. Spiritual, logic, and carnal in mind. And we moved into the fourth dimension and took the other dimensions and pulled them into the fourth dimension and began to create ourselves a body. We begin to eat off of emptiness or space. We begin to eat off the elements, and we begin to eat off of time and measurement. And when we begin to eat those things, fourth dimensionally, we were creating a body that would come out of the womb of a woman, because that's the portal we set up. And fourth dimensionally, we were eating and preparing ourselves to come into this world, into all of this discovery. And when we were doing it, we were eating and making our body, or forming our soul. This body is your soul, whether you know it or not. I know a lot of people say, oh no, the soul is an unseen thing. I see the soul in everything, every leaf, every dog, every cat, every squirrel, every bird, every person, everything. I see the soul, because the soul is discovery, and the soul is what is formed and made in the fourth dimension and is poured out, and it is manifested in the earth realms of emptiness and elements and measurement and time and space and all of these things, all this consortium. Everything you're looking at is the soul. But we want to think of the soul as something unseen. The spirit is something unseen. The soul is the nature of the spirit, and you made a body to take on that nature. Your body and soul and spirit are one. Now, so we have this, we move past the logic. We entered a world of discovery, a world where we could form the soul that we wanted, or the nature. The soul is the nature. We wanted to form a nature, and it flows within the spirit, and is completely different than that of logic. That's why you get into so much conflict at times. You get into little spiritual battles at times, because the soul, the three-dimensional person that you make for the physical realm, is a whole lot different than the logic and carnality and spiritual parts of the mind. We came out of the mind, got into these so we could understand ourselves, and sometimes what we find is nothing like what we thought. You know that. Look at the Pharisees. You know, they were still trying to slaughter four-footed lambs and beasts and bullocks And they chose those over top of the very soul standing in front of them, Christ himself. They chose that over the present soul, the I am, that was standing right there in front of them. So we see this. It's a flow within the spirit, and it's completely different than that of logic. Our carnal attribute of the mind is what feels and tastes and takes form in the soul. The soul is something that is of the earth. The attribute of the mind wants to come, this soul, this carnality, this attribute of the mind wants to come to release. It wants to feel a release. Stop refraining me. Stop restraining me. Stop restricting me. Stop putting these rules and regulations on me. There's a nature in the earth that I will. You say, this ain't true, Brother Parnell. Have you ever read Paul where he said the Gentiles have a nature within themselves? That's what he said. And he said they do the things that they're supposed to do because the Hebrews, the great elite ones that thought they were the soul of God and the unseen people, they were trying to enforce everything onto the Gentiles. And Paul said they don't have to be circumcised. They don't have to eat certain things. They don't have to put this away and they don't have to put that away, and leave them alone. They have a nature within themselves. They know how to act and how to be, and let them be. But we, in all of our eliteness and all of our smartness, we think we know better. So the mind wants to come to release. It wants to be released from all that. It wants to indulge itself in the earth. Oh, Brother Parnell, indulgences are terrible. Well, I have found they're not too bad after all. They're pretty good. It wants to unite. It wants to include. It wants to... I remember when everything used to be scared to death of me because I was so much spiritual. I was so much word. I was so much logic. I was dominating everything. The birds were afraid of me. The squirrels were afraid of me. Everything was afraid of me. Now, they'll just about walk up to me because I know they are Christ. They'll fly and land next to me, land on the swing next to me, look at me. They'll sit here and coo back. I think Daniel heard me cooing with them when he first come. I was cooing back and forth with them, and they come in and sit on the fence and get in the yard. Because I changed my nature. I'm not a dominant being. I'm not someone that's looking for a way to overtake them. I just love them. And they know that. So we came here, and this carnal part of the mind wants a release from the logic, from the word part. It wants a release. It wants to be inclusive. It wants to feel accepted. It wants all these things. It wants to come to peace. That's the best way to put it. It wants to come to peace with everything. Therefore, it continually pushes, and it does, it continually pushes against rules and regulations and doctrinal agendas. It seeks to bring logic to understanding and reality. Did you hear me? It seeks to bring the theophany to understanding in the carnal world, and it wants to bring the theophany to a reality that your world wasn't good enough for us, and that's why we're here. And I love you as my part of my eternal being, but you got to change. You need to change. You need to wake up. So we have this going on. Now, in all of this, what we have to do in order to catch the understanding, in order to catch the detail of everything, we need to become an observer. You are an observer, and you, as the reality and the intellect of this conflict, You bring the attributes to the best possible solution. When conflict comes up, don't get involved with, and I know this sounds crazy, but it's going on in your mind all the time. Don't get involved with the carnality and its side. Don't get involved with the theophany and its side. It's got the best word. It's got the best logic. It's the smartest. This over here is touchy-feely, and don't get involved in any of that. Observe. Be an observer and just observe what's going on in your life, the conflicts in your life, how this feels in your life, how this is in your life. Observe, and as you observe, you as the reality and the intellect of this conflict bring the attributes to the best possible solution. Sometimes the logic is the best possible solution. And sometimes the carnality is the best possible solution. And you don't take sides, so to speak, because it's all you. It's all you. And what you do is you observe, you be the third thing and observe, and then you make your mind up to what is the best possible solution. How is this conflict, how does it need to be resolved, and how does it need to work best for me? You sort through those things. And so the best possible solutions to what works for you, and you settle into that, what I call a stellar mind. A mind that has come through all of the processes of something, and there'll be millions of somethings in your life, but a mind that has come totally through the processes and then decides and resolutes and resolves the issue and sets up the best possible thing in your life that makes the most sense in this world. Not in the theophany world, in this world. What makes the most sense. So you bring yourself to a stellar mind. Stellar meaning exceptional. We'll look at that in just a minute. You bring it to a stellar mind. A mind of angelic, a mind of stars. Sometimes logic knows best. Sometimes carnality knows best. And when we can understand that, you don't always side with one thing or another. You observe and then you set it up in your life. Sometimes the logic knows best. Sometimes carnality knows best. You observe your attributes. You listen to the consortium, all that's out there, and you come to terms with the way nature works best. Listen to me. You come to terms with the way nature works best in the earth. Because you ain't in any other civilization right now. You are in the earth. So you come to terms with what works best right here for you. You don't come to terms with, I'm going to choose this and someday it'll work for me. I know it will. Or I'm going to choose this because it worked for Luther, or it worked for William Branham, or it worked for whoever. Abraham Lincoln, or whoever it might be. No. You come to terms with what works best for you right here and now in this earth, and then settle in it. Settle your mind. Make your decision and do it. Let's listen to Paul. We come to terms with the way nature works best in the earth. Let's listen to Paul. He wrote about a functional process of these attributes that bring us into a stellar mind. 1 Corinthians 15:35. But some man will say, how are the dead raised up? And with what body do they come? Thou fool, that which thou sowest is not quickened except it die. So Paul throws into the process that you have to die in order to have that quickening spirit that brings you to a stellar mind. Thou fool, that which thou sowest is not quickened except it die. And that which thou sowest, you sow not that body that shall be, but bear grain. It may chance of wheat or of some other grain. What is Paul saying here? We came from theophany into a civilization where we must die or change. And you came here as bare grain. Did you hear what he called the theophany? Bare grain. It had no fruits. It had not produced. It had not died. You've heard it said a million times. Theophanies can't die. They can't eat. They can't sleep. They can't do anything. It was bare grain. That's all it was. And you come into this earth in chance of being, like Paul said, of wheat or some other grain. You may be wheat, you may be corn, you may be tomato. I'm just using this as an example. You may be weed, you may be whatever you are. You come into this earth without that body. That's what he said. With what body do they raise up? And Paul said, you do not sow that body that shall be. When you step into the resurrection, it's not going to be a theophany body. And he says that we sow ourselves into the earth as bare grain. But God giveth it a body, or the Spirit gives it a body as it has pleased him. Now you know what I have taught you. You are the Spirit. Man is the Spirit. Let us make man in our image and after our likeness. We were in spirit form. We were man. And then we made a body in our likeness and in our image. So we see this. Now, but God giveth it a body as it hath pleased him. And to every seed its own body. I don't look anything like Sister Nora, because we were two different seeds. She was a woman. She grew up in a family in Kentucky. I grew up in a family in Indiana. We didn't know one another from the rest of the world. If I'd have ran into her, I'd have never known who she was until we come to a point we begin to introduce and understand and know one another. So all of us come here and we step into and create a body that pleases us. We're God. Daniel had to go through his life to come up to a pleasing body, or a body that fits him, a body that fits me. And all flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. So Paul says, what Paul is trying to tell everybody is, look, in carnality, everything is different. And stop trying to make it the same. Everything is different. He said, even in the spiritual world, everything is different. Because he goes on to say, there are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial is one, the glory of the terrestrial is another. So he's showing us that every body is a body that you, the Spirit, God, created to please itself in that situation. There's one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differeth from another star in glory. Pull it over to the physical side. Look at the stars that walked about in the earth. Messengers, stars, angels. They all had different glory because they all came in different times into a body that pleased them. They made it, and then they produced what they needed for their day and their age. I'm not trying to be a star like William Branham. You're not trying to be a star like Luther or Wesley or Pentecost, whatever. You're your own star, your own pleasing body. So also is the resurrection of the dead. Everything is in resurrection. Everything is. We're all in Christ. And the resurrection of the dead is the same way. Or the raising of consciousness. Listen to what Paul's saying. The raising of consciousness is the same way. Not everybody is going to develop the consciousness the same. Some are going to be different than others. We're all going to be different in some ways, in our consciousness, in our levels. On surface Earth, some people can understand speed, they can understand light, they can understand things a whole lot better than others. If me and Neil deGrasse sat down in the same room together, I could probably really help him with some spiritual things. And no doubt in my mind, he could help me with some scientific things. Because we have both raised our levels of consciousness, but in two different worlds, so to speak, and in two different types of conscious, even though it's one. We need to understand this and leave people alone when they've raised to... I watch him, the guy that's the richest man in the world. His name's not coming. Elon Musk. I watch him, how they're doing him. He's raised to a level of consciousness and genius and understanding in that world of politics and media and business and I couldn't even touch that. But I sat and listened to him the other day. I listened to a couple of interviews and they said, "Do you believe in a God?" He said, "Probably not the God you believe in." And they said, "Oh, so you don't believe in God?" He said, "I didn't say that. I said I probably don't believe in the God you believe in." They said, "Well, what God do you believe in then?" He said, "I believe in Spinoza's God." So I heard that, and so they didn't say anything else about it because it blew them. They didn't know what in the world he was talking about, so they moved on. So then I pulled him up in another interview, and they said, "We understand that you believe in Spinoza's God. Did you know that Einstein believed in Spinoza's God?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I studied Spinoza after I heard Einstein say it." He said, "I believe in his God." Well, I went back and studied it. I thought, okay, if this man is so much in the world and he's on top of the world and he's raised his conscious level higher than any of the rest of them in the world, exactly what is Spinoza's God? So I looked it up. There was a man by the name of James Spinoza in the 17th century, and he came to the conclusion in all of his studies that God was nature, and that there is a spirit intelligence in all the earth, and it moves about, and its body is nature. And I thought, pretty simple to me. It's exactly what I see and understand. You know, we don't have to be the first to see it. We just need to see it. We need to understand it. And I thought, this guy's further along than any of the others I've ever heard talk about it. And so that's what I'm saying. When these people get into that conscious level, they're in a different world than you. Leave it alone. Don't try to bang it down. Don't try to make it look bad. Oh, that's the Antichrist. That's this. They're in a consciousness at a level that maybe you and I are in a spiritual consciousness that's right up there with that level. Just not in the same world. I'm not in the science world. I'm not in the political world. I'm not in the media world. I'm in a spiritual world. So we have all these glories. This body that raises in consciousness, body being the spirit man, putting into the physical body who he is, it is sown in corruption, it's raised in incorruption. Or we start out as emptiness, as nothing, and we raise ourselves to a point of total consciousness. In all kinds of things, no matter what you're doing, in all kinds of things, you go from corruption to incorruption. You move from the lower level of consciousness to the higher levels of consciousness. That's what Paul's talking about. Consciousness is life. It is sown in dishonor, it's raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it's raised in power. How many times have you done that in your life? Hundreds of times. In hundreds and hundreds of situations where that you knew nothing. You were in total dishonor, weakness. And as you learned the process, and as you kept raising your conscience to a level of incorruption and honor and glory and praise and understanding. So it's sown a natural body. It's raised a spiritual body. We start out in a carnality in that fourth dimension, and then we begin to form a soul, and we keep moving it through. We come through the carnality, through the logic, into a spiritual being, a spiritual understanding. And there is a spiritual body, Paul says. And so it is written, the first man was made a living soul, fourth dimensional, and the last man was made a quickening spirit, seventh dimensional. So he moved through his process, and he took all of his understanding, he took all of his character, and he took all of his physical experiences with him, and moved higher in his consciousness. And the Adam that we found back there, or the first man that we found back there in the beginning, was so weak compared to this strong man that we found down here in Jesus Christ. And we find that the first man in the church ages was so weak, they left their first love, they done everything else, but the last one is so strong, we broke the veil, came through the church ages, came through the seals, and broke open into a brand new consciousness and into a higher world. What we're doing all the time is raising our level. So we see this. Howbeit that which was first was not spiritual. The first is of the earth, earthly, and the second is the Lord from heaven. So what you're doing is you step into the earth, earthy, and you begin to raise your consciousness and pull a physical being up in its consciousness to a level that it is you become the Lord of heaven. Not somebody else, you. As is the earthly, such are they also that are earthly. And as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly. And as we have borne the image of the earthly, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly. So we are working in this process all the time, moving from dishonor to honor, from corruption to incorruption, from mortal to immortal. We're moving all the time. Now this I say, brethren, flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. Neither doth corruption inherit incorruption. So Paul is saying that as you're moving through this process, you're not inheriting anything. You're overcoming. You're becoming it. You're moving through it. You're moving through processes that are changing you, your experiences and everything else. It's not a matter of it inherited to you, like no matter what, I get it. I am going to move. I'm going to become. You've got to move through these things, through the flow of things, and move with the Spirit, and you don't inherit it. Listen to what he says. Behold, right after he says, flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. I mean, immediately after he says it. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. He just said you can't do it. And then he turned around and said, I'm going to show you a mystery. You can do it. What? Is this man crazy? I don't think so. What he's saying is, you need to set your mind to it. You need to change your mindset. You need to set your mindset on higher things and move yourself to that consciousness out of the dishonor and the corruption and the mortality, and keep moving yourself into a higher consciousness where you see the trees and the birds and the grass and the earth and the people and everything. You see it as yourself, and you move into a higher consciousness all the time. And Paul says, for this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and the mortal shall have put on immortality, then when you come to a high enough consciousness that you see everything is you, everything is you. When you come to that high enough consciousness, when this corruptible shall have moved on, moved to its highest form of immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. You come through certain things in your life and you swallow up the death of those processes in victory. Then you start something else, and you do it again, and you do it again, you do it again, you do it again, and you do it again. and you continue that process of death being swallowed up in victory all the time in your life, or that consciousness of you moving from the lowest state of emptiness dimensionally to the highest state of spiritual dimensionally. And you're moving through that process all the time. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. So where does sin get its victory when it gets a sin? You took your mind back to the law. That's how sin gets its victory. Do not ever take your mind back to the law. There is therefore now no condemnation to them who are in Christ Jesus, who walk in the flesh after the Spirit. Yes, we're going to walk in flesh. This is a carnal world. And we're going to walk after the Spirit because we are changing our consciousness higher and higher all the time. And death's sting is removed from us and done away with, and the strength of that sting is the law. So pull the stinger out of death, which is the law. Do not go back to the law. Go to liberty. Go to Jesus Christ. Go to Christ. Go inward to the God that you are and say, I am practicing these processes to understand myself, and if I cause something or bring something up that is inappropriate, that is just fine. That's a part of the process, and I will work my way out of that. And I will keep my head up. I have no guilt. I have no condemnation. I am the God of this earth. So our mind of logic, theophany, the mind of logic was sown into the earth as a bare grain. Never experiencing, ever did it ever experience anything. It only had an attribute, thought, laying within it about the earth. And it was only holding within it, and we were only holding within us, that was us, the carnal attribute of humanity, the earth. We were holding that in. The theophany had the earth, you and I, our body, his thinking, had the earth shrouded. Just exactly the way Job had a shroud or a hedge about him. And nothing could touch him. And then the thought came, what if you remove that hedge? What would happen to Job when you remove it? That wasn't devil and God up there fighting around. That was in Job's mind. Do I need to keep this hedge around me? What's going on? I don't want to live in all this guilt. I don't want to wonder whether my children are lost or saved. I don't want to do these things. How do I move to a better place? So the devil processes, broke down the walls, the hedge, moved us into the process from theophany to earth, and we began our processes of living without a hedge about us. It's a great way to live. You learn everything. You learn all the detail. Our mind of logic was sown into the earth as bare grain, never experiencing but only holding within our thoughts the carnal attribute of humanity and earth. We were not, listen to me, as theophanies, we were not a spiritual being, but a logical being, full of laws, regulations, and intellectual concepts of what a physical life might be like. That's what we had in us. We held within us blueprints. When I get to this point, the blueprint says I'll do this. And when I get to this point, the blueprint says I'll do that. We held these blueprints. We were intellectual. But you know what Brother Branham said in the church ages? He said, God is not like a blueprint that you think it through and then you build it. He said, God is real and there's no blueprint, and you come here and you begin to manifest everything that you were, every thought, every attribute that was laying within you, you begin to manifest it, and you don't do it with a blueprint. This life has not been predestinated. I got myself in a lot of trouble saying that before because people wrote me like mad. This life is not predestinated. This life is choices, free moral agency. We predestinated ourselves into this life. We gave ourselves years of free moral agency to figure out the detail of our life, and then we move on. We elected a piece of earth, we done all those things, and we moved into it. And here, we're inside a maze, and you can go anywhere in the maze that you decide you want to go. And some of those roads, you're going to run into blocks, you're going to run into walls, you're going to hit, you're going to back off, you're going to go here and there. But you're the Spirit. And you're moving through a maze. You're moving through a descent. There is a door out of here. That door is called death. Brother Branham said it's a glorious thing. So we're living here. We're not a spiritual being there. We were a being full of laws, regulations, intellect, concepts of physical life. We held within us blueprints of ourselves and what we logically thought we would be when we entered this portal through the woman and got into the earth. We thought about. We were word. We were logic. We thought about word and logic, which don't fit carnality a lot of times. As logic, we tried our different worlds. Innocence, Garden of Eden. We said, this is not the body I want. I don't want this innocence. So we moved out of there into the law. And we said, all these laws were within me, but I don't like some of them. Some of them, they don't fit me. When I moved into this carnality and I took on the earth, and this is my body, and I'm looking for a pleasing body. And one thing for sure, I ain't going to live under this. I'm going to move beyond this. That's us. As we moved, we tried different worlds, innocence, law. Of course, law brings, you miss the mark. You're no good. You're a sinful person. You're weak. You're ungodly. We said, man, I sure don't want to live under this. I ain't going to live long like this. Stress, anger, everything's going to drive me to a grave. And then we tried the judgment. Okay, I'll kill everything. Yeah, I'll just start it all over. I'll slaughter everything. I'll burn everything. I'll put earthquakes on everything. I'll destroy it all. I'll nuke it. Same thought. It's all a judgment. And we don't want to live there. We won't live there. We're working our way through to a body and earth and humanity that pleases us. Think on a larger realm, a larger scale than just the individual now. We found them all the ways. We found them lacking. And our word logic, that being, couldn't find peace in this carnal world because it kept trying to set things up to restrict the carnal world, to restrict how you live, how you walk, how you talk, how you act, how on and on and on. Restrict you in family life, restrict you in careers, restrict all the time, this constant limitations, and we kept trying to set those up, and in carnality it didn't fit, and it doesn't fit. And it still doesn't fit for the people that are trying to do that. Look at them. Their world is falling apart. I'm glad I'm not in it. We found them all to be lacking. Our word logic couldn't find peace in this carnal world. Even after we brought ourselves together again, and we did, in one body, Jesus Christ. We all were represented in Adam, and we didn't like it. We said, this is not what we want. And then we brought all of us, all of our mind, all of our thinking, all of our logic, all of our word, we brought it into one body, Jesus Christ, and we found that nobody could live by it. We found that nobody could live by it. And so what did we do? We said, well, at least we'll cleanse the earth, give it some new blood, new life, a new creation, and we crucified ourselves. We brought it together as one body in Adam. We brought it again together as one body in Jesus Christ. And look what they did. They left their first love. They fell out of Pentecost within 20 years and went right down into the depths of Satan, where Satan was sitting in the seat by the third church age, Pergamos. They went into the deepest hell they could possibly go into after gathering ourselves into one body twice. And here we did it again. We gathered ourselves into one body. The cloud. February 28th, 1963. March 8th. William Branham was there. 1963. We gathered ourselves together into one body. One appearing. One appearing in Adam. One appearing in Jesus. One appearing in the cloud. We gathered ourselves and we couldn't find a stellar mind. An exceptional mind. What did we do? We come back here. William Branham opened those seals. We gathered into the cloud. We come back. He opened the seals. And what happened? The red dragon was sitting right there to devour everything he said. And all those preachers went right back home and preached their same old Pentecostal doctrines, laid out their same old ways, kept their pastorships because they knew it's the only way they could eat their bread, and kept their people under bondage to them, made them pay tithes, made them do this, made them do that, and we went right back into the same thing again after gathering ourselves into one body for the third time. Because, here's my reasoning. The word stellar, this is why I said a stellar mind in us. Stellar means relating to a star, day star, Jesus Christ, or stars, which we had 7, Paul, Irenaeus, Martin, Clement, Luther, Wesley, Brennan. So a stellar mind is relating to a star, Jesus Christ, and stars. And there's 7 that come across after Jesus Christ. There's 7 stars that came across. Relating to a star and stars. Featuring or having the quality of a star performer. So you come from the day star, Jesus Christ. You come through 7 stars or the stars. And then you begin to move into the quality of a stellar performer. Or performers, not just one, many. It is an exceptionally outstanding mind. William Branham, Christ revealed in his own word. We have moved to the mind, and there's no moving parts. It's not the hand, it's not the foot, it's not some moving part. This is the intellect now that has taken over. After the star and the 7 stars, we came to the opening of those seals, and an exceptional mind began to break forth into the world. Exceptional, outstanding mind, a cognitive mind of coordination. We began to bring everything into coordination. William Branham started it off by saying, hey, take a look at this. I know it doesn't say it in the scripture anywhere, and it doesn't, but he said we had 7 church ages. Go find that in your Bible. Show me where that's at. It said 7 churches in Asia. And it was 7 cities that John wrote to. He didn't write to 2,000 years and 7 stars. But William Branham begins to bring it to a stellar mind. A mind of cognitive nature can put it all together. That's what cognitive means. Being able to put it all together and take a good look at everything. He brought it to where we could be quality performers. He brought it to where we could have an exceptional mind. He brought us in, not our own minds, so to speak, not our own intellect, not into our brain, but he brought us into the being, the very consciousness. He broke the veil and brought us in there. Now the world is catching up. That takes time. So we see this. Now, think of all that we have just come to in our understanding concerning angels, angelic beings, or stars. We came through the stars. We came through the star, the day star, Jesus Christ. And then we came through the stars. As we came through those stars, featuring or bringing to us 7-star performers. Passing through that dispensation of church ages brought us to the next step, breaking into the veil of an exceptional, cognitive, stellar mind. A mind that knows everything. A mind that is webbed into everything. We come to a mind that we realize everything is us. Everything. And we come to this, we pass through that dispensation. Brought ourselves into this exceptional mind. We have come to the cognitive skills of a stellar mind. The stellar being the observer. We are now setting back and observing. We observed the Cancer age in Adam. We observed the Taurus age. We observed the Aries age up to Jesus. We observed the Piscean age. We're able to look back across all this, and we have a cognitive stellar mind in us now. We broke the veil. We're able to put it all together and see ourselves. It's you and me all the way through, angelic beings, and now we've broken in to that angelic nature completely, and we are all, there's not just 7 stars, there's not just one day star now, we are all day stars, we are all stars in this stellar world in the mind that's moving in the earth today. We have come to the cognitive skills of a stellar mind. The stellar being observed the Piscean dispensation and all those others, and we made a quantum leap into Aquarius through a wormhole. Where's the wormhole, Brother Parnell? It was 27 miles high, 30 miles wide, and we all passed through it. Came through a wormhole, through the cloud. You know, that's what a wormhole looks like. If you look at it in outer space, it looks like a cloud. The stellar mind of us is the ones who have passed through the cloud. Processes of our new home and how to blend into a new world that fits the attributes of our carnality. Those of you, and not everyone has, but those of you that have raised your level of consciousness to this we're talking about. Did you ever have that satisfaction before? Did you ever have that rest before? Were you ever able to see yourself as God Almighty walking in the earth? No. Because we continually put it somewhere else. But in this understanding, in our new home, we've learned how to blend into a new world that fits the attributes of carnality. I'm accepting this world, and it's accepting me. I'm accepting my body. You know, there are times when it's not easy to accept your body. You ever watch, these little kids, and they're stumbling and they're falling and they're banging their heads. I got one in here, little Benny, and I have a ball with him, but I just watch him, and he stumbles, he reaches for things, he falls, he does this and that. He doesn't like his body. He doesn't like what's going on. He wants to be better. And so we see that he'll move on. Somebody's going to have to stick his arm through the first shirt that he puts on himself. Somebody's going to have to slide his arms through the coat, maybe show him how to tie his shoes. But there's going to come a time when that just happens with him. It just happens all the time. A little girl's body, you know, they come up and they start forming and they start shaping and they start having menstrual periods. And sometimes it's not a pleasant thing, but they're moving through it. And you say, oh, it's such a horrible thing. Well, it was a way to process children into this carnality. And it starts right from the gender, right from the birth on. They're processing that. And we're moving into the attributes of carnality. Remember? Here, Brother Branham, we don't eat, we don't drink, we don't sleep, we don't do any of those things, Brother Branham. We gotta come to the earth to do that. Brother Branham. What did we do? We came from the cloud to the earth. And what do? We start eating and drinking. We start doing all these things. What are we doing? Forming our world. Forming, eating our body to create our carnal soul so that we can live in peace in this world. We created all things seen. Everything you see seen, we created it from the unseen. Our spirit enjoined with the earth. That's what I'm talking about. Our spirit entered the womb of the earth and placed its seed. And then our spirit, enjoined with the earth, created the soul or nature of the earth. We did this by the connection of logic, thinking, and thought, and physicality, and carnal, and earthly. I just named off the dimensions that we believe in. That's how we did it. Logic, thinking, thought, physicality, carnal, earthly. In so doing, we sorted all the logic out. We sorted all the physical feelings out, all the feelings and emotion and see, taste, feel, smell, and hear, memory, conscience, reason, affection, imagination, faith, on and on and on. We sorted out all of these things, and we as humanity moved to the best possible solution of how it works in our personal life in this carnal earth. In so doing, we sorted the logic, connected the best of all dimensions, and we stand in the exceptional mind of a stellar world now. We can make the very best of choices through being an observer of our consortium, of our conflicts within us. We're discussing the movement through the attributes of our consciousness. And as we open an attribute, we become comfortable with it. Formidable. We get feeling with it. We get experience with it. And then we do it again and again and again. We become relaxed in its vibration and its frequency. And we stop trying to refrain and restrain and push back and do all these things. And we come to a way of faith living together. It's what we're doing. When you are caught into the action, and it happens to us so many times, when you're caught into the action, many things become a blur. Hard to understand, both in the physical world and in the spiritual. An example, riding in a vehicle, train, automobile, car, whatever, riding in a vehicle on surface earth. You can do several things to focus yourself in all of that speed. You can look forward out the windshield and everything kind of flows. And when you're traveling that high speed down the interstate or wherever, and you turn your head to the right, everything going boom, 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 just flying by you, and it's a blur, and you can't really tell what it is. And so when you get caught up in that action, it's hard to enjoy it. And so we are discussing this movement. When you're caught into the action, many things become a blur, hard to understand. Riding in a vehicle, then riding in a ship or an airplane. What happens? You have become the observer. You're not in the middle of all of that action. When you're standing on a ship looking out, you can watch the same thing for hours and just watch it, how pretty it is, and just look at just watch it float by. When you're in an airplane and you're flying and you're up there 30,000 feet in the air, the earth is just it's just barely moving by. And you're observing all things. You say, oh, there's a city. Oh, look, there's a farm. There. Oh, look, there. And you're focusing. Because what did you do when you get into that plane or a ship? You become the observer. When you're in all that action, you're not the observer. So listen to me. There's times you need to pull yourself out of the action and become the observer and say, man, this is beautiful. That's what happened when in an automobile everything zooms by at a high rate of speed. Focusing up close causes a blur as things go by. We're now stepping out of that. We're stepping out of that kind of relationship. And we're moving into an observation relationship. We've taught and we understand that as people. In a plane traveling across the air and looking out at everything seems to be a floating process, and you just see everything, all the detail. And you can take time to observe, or in a ship traveling across the sea, you can do the same thing. Observe and focus on holistic things. That's what this age of Aquarius is about, stepping into holistic things. Don't get caught up in the blur. Don't get caught up in all that stuff. Focus on holistic things. Remove your mind from the hustle and the bustle of the blur and get your mind on the focus as an observer. Think about when we looked at the cloud in February 28, 1963. Came out in Life magazine and all, Mechanics magazine and different ones. And we seen the pictures and we looked at the pictures and everything else. And 99% of the people in the message still say, I think it's angels. It's the seven messengers. It's they don't know what it is. And then the other half of the world says it was a jet airplane blowing smoke. But we know what it was. But when you look at it from a blur, think about when we looked at that and what it looked like. A streak in the sky, white streak, formed into a circle. It was actually a dimensional civilization. That cloud that we looked at was a dimensional civilization, and we were all present. We were looking at ourselves, all of us, of all humanity and all civilization. Moses, Elijah, the prophets, the sages, Easter Seal, 1965. We were all there. That's pretty plain to me. But it didn't look like that because our focus wasn't like that. But now we know. We know that it was a dimensional thing, and inside there was people moving about, living just like you and I live right here. It was a dimensional thing. It was actually a dimensional civilization, people past, present, and future, coming together as the I am in the present. It happened. When we come out of the third body, the platform of our fundamentals changed. Over time, with our evolution and our understanding, we have changed so much. Our focus now is on something that draws us together for a worthy goal. Humanity. We want it to have the very best. The earth. It's ours. We want it to be in good health. Because of our laws, our freedom was removed. We were restrained in every way possible. Because of our laws, our freedom was removed from us. And because of our love now, in love divine, in this understanding of real true love, because of our love, our freedom is realized again. It was taken away from us in laws and regulations and agendas of man, and now it's been restored to us through love. Again, we are understanding what we are about. Solomon is the wisest man on earth. Nothing strange to him when he was here. They said Solomon sinned. You know all the people, what they say about him. Brought in strange wives, done this, done that. Didn't follow the laws, didn't do this, didn't do that. They say Solomon sinned. Oh, and at the end of his age, he just went crazy. But Solomon didn't see any wrong in what he done. Did you hear what I said? It don't matter what somebody else thinks about you. Solomon didn't see any wrong in what he done. He was inclusive in his time. What happened to Solomon? He changed his platform and his fundamentals. He changed it all. The same thing is happening to you and I right now. We pass through the wisest body in all of earth, the cloud. We come through that wormhole, quantum leaped into a brand new age, and now we are changing the whole platform, all the fundamentals, everything about it. A greater than Solomon is here. Be specific on what you want to convey. You have your own season to adopt, and we also have our season together. To adapt, So adapt to it. Adapt to your season. The flow of our understanding is about us. And it's not just about a specific individual. It's about us, a holistic being. Now we're taking and talking a new heaven and earth, a new lifestyle, a new way of thinking. It's not about the old fundamental platform that we came up through anymore. That came from Brother Kit Gomez. And that's the truth. It's happening. I made the statement, the unseen is us. I can also say, the seen is us. Like Paul said, we look into things which are not seen. We view the unseen as a place where our soul develops and takes form. Fourth dimensionally, we have the three dimensions of the mind, or the three attributes of the mind, and then you have the soul is the place wherein this three-dimensional mind forms itself, creates itself, and then manifests it in a physical world. So we're at that point. Everything comes from the earth now. Everything comes from the earth now. We immorphed ourselves into earth. It is who we are. Everything is living in the earth. Nobody flew away anywhere. Nobody's on the other side of Mars. Nobody's hiding behind the moon. Everybody is right here, living right here. We all are creative earth. All of us are creative earth in this dimension of discovery. Caretakers of the earth, caretakers of our body. Our character and our soul takes form in this time of discovery, right here and now. We are eating and drinking and making our body. John 12:24. Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. Now, for all of you that think you should never have a session without a scripture, you got it. I gave you John 12:24. What goes into our earth comes out to be fruitful. That's what Jesus was saying right there. What goes into our earth comes out fruitful. Earth is its own creative power. What went into the earth died. It died. It didn't have no creative power. It died. Listen to me, the theophany, death just means change. When the theophany came into the earth, it didn't have creative power. It died. It died, or it changed. And the creative power was in the earth to raise it up again. Not as a body of theophany, but as a body that pleases us. A carnal body, a living body, a soul right here in us. What goes into earth comes out to be fruitful. Earth is its own creative power to produce what it needs to be. The intelligence and the earth are one. We passed that stage of putting a God outside somewhere and came to realize that we are gods here and now in the earth. But we're going to a real place. This is William Branham. We're going to a real place where we're going to do things, where we're going to live, we're going to work. Well, he's saying everything we're doing, isn't he? We're going to enjoy, we're going to live, we're going to life, to a real eternal life. We're going to a heaven or a paradise. That's in things that are to be. It's very clear to me where we went. This is taking place now in our old world of discovery. This is Joe Gomez. This is taking place now in our world of discovery. This is our soul taking form. We're in a real place. We're in life. We're working. We are enjoying. We're living. We're doing all these things. We're in a paradise. I know I am. I'm enjoying it. It's a beautiful place to be. And Pastor Joe said this is taking place now in our world of discovery. This is our soul taking form. We're working, we're doing things, and we're enjoying the soul or the character we've always wanted to express. We couldn't express it back there. We didn't have a body that satisfied us, but we have a body that satisfies us now. And yes, it'll take on more glorification, but we are moving in that direction of total completeness and understanding of our body. We're working, we're doing things, we're enjoying the soul or character we've always wanted to express. The unseen is now being made seen. Pastor Joe. This is me. If you see a tree here, I'm quoting from William Branham. If you see a tree here, there is a tree there. Okay, that's Brother Branham's Things That Are to Be. Go read it. If you see a tree here, there is a tree there, living, connected, and cannot die. If you see a person here, there is a person there, living, connected, and cannot die. Now, I don't know how far away you're taking there in your mind, so maybe I will help you bring it closer to home. If you see a person here, there is a person there, living, connected, and cannot die. Where is the prophet talking about when he made these statements in Things That Are to Be? He's talking about in the same emptiness, in the same elements, in the same measurement, in the same physical space that you see that tree standing, and it's growing old and it's dying. There's a tree standing right there that cannot grow old and cannot die, in the same exact space, not out there somewhere. It's here. It's alive. And one day, that intelligence that cannot die will tell that sap not to come up out of the ground this year. And the leaves won't come back, and the tree will turn brown, and it dies. But there's still a living tree in that same space, right there, alive as alive can be. Things that are to be. In the same emptiness, elements, and measurement, physical space, there is a unseen dimensional person living and connected in discovery, and that person is carnal, logical, and spiritual in the mind. We move from the sands of the sea to the stars of heaven. All is connected. Our intelligence and our consciousness is moving us through processes, overcoming death, overcoming victory. Death is swallowed up in victory, moving us through the processes of here, right now, living, walking, and talking. And we're moving through the processes into a stellar mind, a mind of exceptional ability, understanding, cognitive skills, knowing who we are, living in things as long as we want, putting it back into the earth, and continue to live on. The earth is ours. We pick it up, we put it down, we do what we want with it. We have connected ourselves to it, and we will never, ever leave it again. We're right here in it. Always. It's eternal. It's the elements. I don't know how to explain it any better. Our mind needs to come to the capability of a new platform, new fundamentals, new everything, a brand new unit, future home. We need to come to that. We need to stop placing our dominancy, our dominant ways, our ego, all those things. We need to back those off. They are not a part of the season in the earth today. The season here is inclusiveness, love, spreading, understanding, moving about in the earth to create the spiritual climate that takes care of both the physical and the spiritual all the time. This is where we're at. It's a spiritual, stellar mind in us. We came through the day star. We came through the stars. And a stellar is a mind that has come to exceptional ability and understanding. And it is a stellar performer or performers, all of us. This is the age of stellar performance. This is the age, and how do we do it? Just like Solomon did it. We don't worry about anything. We don't condemn ourselves. Solomon seen no wrong, and therefore became the wisest, greatest man on the earth. You still having a problem seeing wrong? Oh, Brother Parnell, that's wrong. I don't have a problem. I don't see wrong. I see everything forming into the body that we need, and it will continue to do so. God bless.